Welcome everybody to another Voice of Nick show, playing more Yakuza Kenzan. And we ended the last one mid-sequence, so we're picking up exactly where we left off on the previous episode. We're in the middle of a conversation here, and we're probably about to get into a fight, so that's always fun. Warning to anybody watching the show who's not familiar with this game, Yakuza Kenzan was only ever released in Japan, which means that not only is the spoken dialogue in Japanese in this game, but also all the text and subtitles are in Japanese, as you can actually see right here, because we're in a subtitled scene at the moment. So if you don't speak Japanese, you're not going to know what they're saying. I will tell you what they say when it's a moment like this, where we can actually stop between spoken parts. And as always, I will not speak over the cutscenes, but I will explain what happened in them after the fact. So hang tight. You'll get most of it just for context clues, though, anyway. If the guy slashes another guy with a sword, you're going to realize you don't need to know the subtleties of what they said most of the time. Welcome, Betty's into the show. Welcome, Gaming Hour, into the show as well. How's everybody doing today? Are you ready to get into a fight in the hostess bar? Because I believe that's what's about to happen. Oh, right. So this is we already saw what this guy said, but to repeat it, he's saying they're basically, Kiryu is looking for somebody. We don't necessarily know why. And he tracked her to this hostess bar. He's with our friend, the priest guy. They heard a scream from outside, and they heard the scream from outside of their room, found out that basically a bunch of like gangster money collectors came by to shake them down, and may have attacked one of the women who work there. So they're asking help from Kiryu, who is a samurai, to help him out. Here we go.
Orega?
Orega? Like, you want me to help?
もちろん俺はたっぷりとお支払いします。お願いします。
It's basically saying like, yeah, like of course you seem to be equipped to support us or like help us out. Please.
ここはお前さんの出番じゃないのか?
Devon. I'm not sure exactly what that word would mean, but he's basically saying like, don't you think you can, give him a break?
金もくれるって言うしな。
Something like we'll, we have the money to cover whatever's about to go down. I'm not sure why he would be saying that though.
預かってくれ。俺はあんな男は嫌ん。
そやかて丸腰やったら。
大丈夫じゃ。奴はただの剣士じゃない。あんな酔っ払いの侍なんぞ素手で十分。
This is an instance where we're actually fighting a guy with a sword, and we do not have a sword. So we gotta be a little careful. Do we have any weapons? What do we got here? Oh, there's one over there. Run!
Sa さすがだな。
どうした？大丈夫か？
お侍様、誠にありがとうございました。これはお約束の。いやー、しかしこんなに強いお侍様がいてはるなんて幸運でしたわ。なあ吉野。
ええ、さすがやわ桐生はん。
ほな、うちらは後片付けがおますんで、お客様はお座敷の方へ。
ほな、うちも。
金で買えないものはないか。
そうだ、それが祇園色町。
決めた。
何をだ？
俺はこの町で生きてみようと思う。
お前、おお、ここに決めたのか。
We've never seen a first-person dialogue scene before in this game. So there was a few cutscenes that happened there. In the first one, not a lot happened. Kiryu gave his sword because he, like, basically he was saying, like, I don't need it. These guys aren't samurai that I'm fighting. And for anybody who knows anything about Musashi Miyamoto, which is the guy that we're playing as, Kiryu's his code name. Musashi Miyamoto is who he actually is. And he's a real samurai. One of his specialties or whatever was like fighting without, knowing how to fight without weapons. So there's been a couple of scenes where we do that. But when he gave the sword, the bangle that was on it, the girl recognized the bangle. It was probably passed down in her family or something, which indicates that she probably is related to Majima's sister, adopted sister, that we saw before. The other guy, what he was saying, basically, when this guy was saying, like, don't worry, I was saying, like, I don't know why he's saying that we have enough money to cover it. I think what occurred there was that the gangsters' money that they were going to collect, they instead gave it to Kiryu as, like, the protector or whatever, like the protection money. They gave it to him instead because he protected them from the guy. There wasn't really a lot else that happened. When Kiryu took the sword back, he said to the girl, like, basically, like, what's the matter? Like, are you all right? Because she seemed, like, pretty shaken. And she was like, yeah, it's fine. But obviously you could see just by looking at her that she suspects him of something. I don't know why. Maybe she didn't believe Kiryu that he was from that part of town, because he already said that he was there. Maybe she didn't know that he had such a close relationship with the girl who gave him the bangle. It could be that. We're not exactly sure on that point yet. She hasn't really explained herself yet. But then at the end, they were walking out, and Kiryu was basically repeating the monk's words of, like, whatever he said, like, there's not a lot going on for people who don't have money in this town. And then the last thing he said was something like, I think I could maybe set up a life here, like start a living here. And so it cut to what I believe was 1 year later, and Kiryu's now opened the shop that we saw at the opening of the game. So now we're converging pretty close with the framing device. But this guy was not in the framing device, so he's probably, I don't know how far away we are from, like, present, quote-unquote, present day of the game. And that's that. So our guy's saying, "Oh, ここに決めたのか?" So like, you decided on this place, huh?
あ、あんたか。
Oh, it's you.
駆け回り達也か。いい名前じゃないか。
So at the beginning of the game, it was it was my impression that Kiryu did not want to be a money collector, but this he's saying that the kakemawari, which I believe is the same thing as sort of like a money collector, so maybe he just didn't want to do it at that point in the story. But yeah, he called the shop like money lending and something else that I'm not sure what it is, saying, it's a good name.
ああ、
しかし本当に店を持つとはな。どうやって金を工面したんだ。
He's saying like he's like, you got a good shop here. Like, how are you making your money? I think is what he's asking.
鶴屋で番頭からもらった金を元手に一勝負打ってな。
Interesting. So he's saying like, at that one place, he gets I believe he's saying from that time when we, got the money from that place, that was really the one fight that I got in, I think is what he's saying. Like, I didn't really have to do any more fighting after that.
博打か。
Not entirely sure what that would be.
ああ、やはりあんたの言った通り、この町は金で動いているようだ。
So you're saying like I sort of followed your advice. Like this town, you gotta, I guess like keep moving money around is what the phrase is that he's talking about. I'm not sure why he's, maybe by putting the money into real estate, it has now like locked it up so that he can't lose it or something like that. I'm not really sure why he said that though.
金を失うのも簡単だが、稼ぐのも簡単だ。
Oh, that's exactly why he said it. Okay, so he's saying like it's easy to lose your money, but the implication being like if you actually like lock it in and start a business or whatever, then you're not going to be tempted to basically spend it on, idle things.
まあ商売が成功すりゃうなるほど金が貯まるさ。
So like I get it. Starting a business is like a good way to achieve that.
This is わしからの餞別だ。受け取ってくれ。達也って名前にしたって聞いたからな。これを仕立ててみたんだ。いいから着てみろ。よく似合っておる。どうだ、気に入ったか。
ああ。
何よりだ。お前もせっかく祇園で生きる気になったんだから、このくらいかぶいても問題ないだろう。
あんた、そんな荷物持ってどこかに出かけるのか？
おう、そうだ。
どこへ？
国に帰る。もうこの町ともお前ともおさらばだ。
It's interesting. I think that I've never seen them use this phrase before, but that last thing he said, and I'll tell you everything they said, but the last thing he said was, I'm returning to the country, because he lived out in the country, and it's interesting if the word, because it's just the word for country, and that wouldn't necessarily translate one-to-one, but that phrase actually does literally translate exactly the same as in English. Like, the country is like the same exact thing in Japanese. I never knew that. Anyway, what happened was, he said, like, basically, I got you this, it's like a present from me for, we'll call it a present for like coming up with a name for your shop. He gave him the kimono, which has the dragon on the back that matches, for anybody who's a Yakuza fan, it's the same dragon that Kiryu has tattooed on his back in the Yakuza mainline games. And then he said, like, Kiryu said to him, like, what are you doing with all that luggage? Like, where are you going? Or where are you going to go to? And he said, as I mentioned, I'm going to go back to the country. Betty's saying, arigato. Mondai nai desu ne. Here from the podcast. Good stuff. Let's get an exclamation mark hype in the chat. Anybody who doesn't know what Betty's talking about, the Twitch Playbook is a free weekly podcast I created to help you guys with your Twitch channels. It's on iTunes, Spotify, all the major podcast platforms. I'm glad that you like the podcast. Oh, following as well. Thank you for the follow. Take these 20 meatballs that you get for following the channel, use it to buy yourself your very own kimono with a dragon on it. Enjoy, but it might get you into fights if Kiryu is any indicator, so be careful. Enjoy your kimono with a dragon on it and enjoy your stay in the Meatball Marauders. You can type exclamation mark meatballs in the chat if you want to check your channel currency of meatballs, as well as your channel ranking, which is based on how many meatballs you have. Welcome on in. So our guy's saying, I think he's kind of saying, like, this town's already a little bit, you kind of have everything covered in this town.
どうして
So like, why is that?
何を言ってるんだ。わしは諸国を漫遊するそうだ。いつまでもここにおるわけにはいかん。
I've never seen that phrase either. That's interesting. He's saying, like, how could you? What do you mean by saying that? Like, I'm a country boy, basically. I've never seen that phrase written before. I'll have to see how that's pronounced. I think it's shakoku. It's always interesting when when a phrase will translate literally, and it'll still be the exact same phrase, even with a literal translation in another language. But he's saying, like, basically, I'm just like a country boy priest. Anytime I can, I can, sort of look you up anytime here.
でもそんな急に
And here he's saying, like, but isn't this all a little sudden, though?
旅は名残を惜しまん方がいいんだ。特にわしみたいな風来坊の場合はな。
Hold on a second. So he's saying something like, I've always sort of been the kind of guy to just, I'm fine traveling. I think he's saying something like, I'm not really one to sort of like put things off.
おう、そういえば最後に一つお前に聞きたいことがある。
He's saying, like, there's one more thing that I wanted to know from you.
お前どうしてこの町に残ろうと思ったんだ。
So, like, why did you decide to sort of like set down roots here?
あんたの言う通り新たな人生が歩めるんじゃないかと思ったんだ。
So, like, I was sort of thinking about what you said, making a new life for myself. And I was thinking I wasn't going to be able to do that just by kind of roaming around.
新しい人生か。でも本当にそれだけが理由か。
And then our guy here is saying, a new life, huh? But is that really the only reason?
いや、それだけじゃない。
And Kiryu saying no, no. There's a little more to it. That's not it.
俺はこの町である男がやってくるのを待つ。
He's saying, for me, in this town... I wonder what he means by this. Maybe he's trying to say, if I'm translating it into English idiom, maybe he's saying, like, you know, if I sort of set up in this town, I can become sort of like the go-to guy, something like that.
ある男
The go-to
俺の
guy.
親友を殺し、俺の人生を歪めた男だ。
He's saying, like, my, you know, my best friends have died. Like, my life is kind of like, you know, been leading to something else, I guess.
じゃあお前はここに残ってその男への復讐をするため
He's saying, like, oh, all right, well, you know, sticking around here, like, you know, that man might be able to forge something new. Although he might also be referring to finding a certain man, but I don't think that's the case because there's nobody he's looking for in this town. So I'm gonna go with my own thing.
いや、復讐でもない。
I don't know what that word means. It's like basically saying, like, no, it's not. It's not that.
じゃあ何なんだ
Well, it's not, huh?
俺はその男ともう一回戦ってみたい。もう一度会って勝負をしたいと思った。剣士として。
Okay, he is talking about fighting. Maybe also by living in this town, he can be like more centrally located to fight that guy who we saw earlier in the story. That guy's we don't know that he's anywhere near this town though, so I don't know really why that's his plan. But he's basically saying, like, yeah, you know, I fought that. I want to fight that that guy, that man, one more time. You know, if we meet one more time, I think that, you know, I think we could have another, like, a rematch.
剣士としてか
You know, it's talking about, like, having a swordsman's duel or whatever.
わしは剣士ではないがお前に一つ教えておいてや
He's saying, like, well, I'm not really a swordsman, but you, you know, maybe you could teach me a thing or two or something like that.
なんだ。
It's like, what's that?
人間誰しも才能というものを持ってある
I'm not sure really what this means. I think he's saying something about, like, the inherent power within human beings.
お前は強い剣においては人より秀でた才能があるはずだだが
He's saying that you're strong. Like, you're probably stronger than most of the other guys out there, but
だが
才能は磨かなくては本物にはならん
I think that it sort of boils down to, like, power isn't really everything.
確かに。
Like, that's certainly true.
だがな幾多の修行や数々の鍛錬だけが才能を磨く術とは限らない
Not getting much from this one. something about like how your abilities aren't always going to take you as far as you want it to go, something like that.
この町にいるのであれば、そしてその男と戦うのであれば、もっと視野を広げろ。
So he's saying like, you know, you can live in this town, you can fight the guy, like your nemesis or whatever, but I think the implication being like at some point those two things can't coexist, something like that.
視野
Yeah, I don't really know what this means. It's like seeing or viewing a field. I don't know what that would mean. It's not going to literally translate.
剣にとらわれない大きな視野を持って、そうすれば想像することができる。
Something like the sword, you'll have a large, let's take a look at this word because we have seen it a bunch of times. Shia. It means field of view. That's really interesting because I said seeing a field, so that's pretty close. I guess he's talking not about your literal field of view, but like your perspective on life type of thing. Which we kind of, if you think about the way we've been interpreting the scene, we already basically got it. A lot of times you don't need to know every word to get what they're talking about. So what he's saying is essentially like you need to take on a broader field of view as a swordsman. You know, and from there you can sort of use your imagination.
想像
Imagination.
そうだ。お前なりの想像だ。お前の剣を生かしたければ、その境地にたどり着け。
Yeah, like your imagination, like your imagination as a swordsman, and the things, I guess like the lifestyle or whatever, like the things that you get up to, that's going to be let's kind of come up with something here, like the boundary of your experience or whatever.
視野想像
So something like my perspective, my field of view, my imagination.
そうだ。この町で駆け回りとして生き、さまざまな体験をしろ。その時、お前の才能はきっと開花する。
Kaika? I've never seen that written that way. He's saying like, yeah, like you're living as a tax collector or whatever, protection money guy. You're gonna run into all sorts of like, you're gonna have a lot of different experiences around here, like in that. Whenever a time like that comes up, your abilities, I think is saying are going to be tested or something like that.
いずれわかる。お前はもっと強くなる。この町で大いに暴れろ。そして遊べ。
Saying like, but you know, you get it. Like you're I think you're saying like you become stronger, like in a town like this, you can I don't know, I think he's saying like you're more than dangerous enough in a town like this, you know, like not that you're not going to really face a lot of threats basically. Because they're all like small-time gangsters. Like he's a lot more powerful than them, is what he's trying to say.
それが今のお前がやるべきことだ。宮本武蔵よ。
So he's like, I think what he's saying is like, that's all I have to say, really, Mr. Miyamoto Musashi.
どうしてその名を？
It's like, why, what makes you use that name?
まさかわしが気づいておらんとでも思うておったのか。
Saying like, do you think that's gonna cause a problem for you around here? Something like that.
いや、
No, but
気づいてないふりをしたのは、世に名高い悪党が本当はどんな男なのか興味があったからだ。
Hootie. I wonder what that means. Saying like, the kind of thing, the kind of effect you're gonna get from that, like, it's a well known around the world. Like, you might end up with all sorts of riffraff around here, basically trying to chase down the famous name.
あんた。
ま、安心しろ。誰にも言わん。
So he's saying like, that's, you can rest easy though. It's not like, it's not gonna happen.
というかお前そんなことよりも新しい名前が必要なんじゃないのか。
Saying like, but as for you, like, coming up with this new name, that was pretty important to you, huh? Like, it was pretty, found it pretty necessary.
まあそうだが。
And Kiryu saying like, yeah, well, yes, it was pretty necessary.
じゃあ名字は桐生でいいとして下の名前はわしが決めてやろう。
Shita no namae. I wonder what that means. I've never seen that written. It could either mean like a second name, like, because it's the under, basically means like the lower name. So maybe he's saying like you might want to come up with a first name, or he might be saying shita no namae. Lower name might mean like it's a less conspicuous name, like in that sense. Let's see. Let's take a look. I'm guessing it means coming up with a first name, like a given name. Shita no namae. First name, yeah. So he's saying like, Kiryu's good, but you might want to decide on a first name.
ん？ちょっと待った。
He's saying like, wait a second.
なんだ。
What?
あんた、なんで俺が桐生と名乗ったことを知ってんだ？
I think what he's asking is, how'd you know that I'm calling myself Kiryu? But that doesn't make sense to me because he's been in this town for a while at this point.
あ？いや、それは。
He's saying like, the thing about that,
鶴屋で飲んでた時、小便に行くふりして、俺とあの遊女の話聞いてたんだな。
so maybe not as much time passed as I thought, or maybe they just never talked since then, but he's basically saying like, back when we were at the hostess bar, like that time when I was drinking sake with the hostess, like, you wouldn't have happened to have been listening in on our conversation, were you?
まあ、そうだ。
And our guy's saying like, yeah.
まったくあんたって人は。
It's like, of all the lousy.
でもまあ、そんなことはどうでもいいだろうが。で、下の名前なんだが。
It's like, well, yeah, it all worked out in the end though. So anyway, getting back to that first name, and at this point I'm actually pretty proud of my ability to turn this into workable English phrases, because it's totally different in Japanese, but this is the spirit of what they're saying. I'm usually really bad at that, but I'm getting better. This is one of the things where it's like these episodes specifically of this game have helped me a lot in on the fly coming up with like particular English translations for things that, because matching the literal translation means nothing most of the time. It's like it's not going to be a one-to-one match, but matching the feeling of what they're saying is what matters, and I'm getting a little better at that. So anyway, saying like, you know, it all worked out in the end, but let's about that first name.
Gomagasna.
Gomagasna. I don't know if he's saying Gomaga is his name that he wants or what. Gomaga? I don't know what Sna would necessarily represent. I've never seen that written. Desna, maybe? I think he's saying his first name would be Gomaga.
そうだ。カズマノスケってのはどうだ。
ん？カズマノスケ？
ああ、一直線に進む俊明の落とし。お前のようなまっすぐな人間にはよく似合う名前だと思うが。
カズマノスケか。
ん？どうだ。不満か？
いや、気に入った。その名前もらおう。
よし、今日からお前は桐生一馬之助だ。祇園で思いっきり暴れ回れ。
Oh wow, that's our save. So you probably recognized it, especially if you're a Yakuza fan, what happened there. Kiryu came up with his own idea for a name that I already forgot. And then our guy, the monk, said, what about this name Kazuma Nosuke? Which I don't know if Nosuke is like an honorific or something, or if that's actually the full name. But basically our guy's name now is Kazuma Kiryu, just like in the mainline Yakuza games. Except it's really fun because in this one, that's his like code name he came up with. And then our guy, I forget exactly what he said. He said something like, no one's going to recognize you with a name like this, something like that. And then he said, like, what, you don't like it? And Kiryu's like, no, I love it. Like, I'm taking that name. And our guy said, okay, from now on, you're Kazuma Nosuke Kiryu. And that is a pretty momentous occasion. So we're basically going to be caught up then with what's going on. Now what we want to do here is we're going to close out the show because the game's going to start the next cutscene here. So we don't know really what's going to go down with that, but that's going to do it, guys. Kiryu got his name. We are almost caught up, if not completely caught up to the present day in the game, and now possibly the proper, stuff starts going into motion. So I'm pretty excited for all that. Guys, if you don't know the channel you're watching, it's called The Voice of Nick. On here I stream 3 times a day, 7 days a week. We play story-based games, and if you want to see more, don't forget to hit that follow button before you head out. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.